Hello students, in this class I will explain some examples of this viscous force. So in last class we came to know about viscous force. This viscous force F is equals to eta A dV by dx. Okay. Sometimes this drag force or viscous force, we have some advantage and we have some disadvantage also. Okay, most of the time we need to reduce the drag force or viscous force. So on the objects, when it is moving in a fluid medium, how the viscous force will act, for that one example I will explain. Let us consider a boat is moving in this liquid medium, that is a boat is moving in a water. Okay. And definitely we can consider the liquid medium into different layers, number of layers. The topmost layer which is attached to the bottom of the boat. With what velocity this boat will move, definitely the layer attached to the bottom of the boat also moves with the same velocity. And what about next layer? This layer is far from the boat, right? Hence this layer will move with little bit less velocity comparing to above layer. Similarly, as we go depth, the velocity will decreases. We have studied in last class. And here the between any two adjacent layers there is a viscous force. That means we are applying some force on the boat. That force or our energy is not only using to move the boat. This boat tries to move the liquid layer. This top layer will tries to move the bottom layer, but the bottom layer is applying force in opposite direction and it will pull the top layer or the bottom of the boat in backward direction. Definitely that a drag force or viscous force will act in this direction. In this way the viscous force will act on the objects also. Then we have to minimize or we have to reduce the viscous force or the drag force. Then what we used to do while designing the aeroplanes or boats or motor cars, that one especially using in racing time, that is Formula 1, what shape we will design means we will design in streamlined shape. Okay. Then what is that streamlined means? With a pointed end like this, we will design a streamlined shape. So by doing like this, how we can able to reduce, how we can able to minimize the viscous force means, definitely relative to the motion of an object, the air or the fluid will move like this, right? So you can see the area is reduced here. So basically the viscous force is depend upon the area and velocity gradient. If we decrease the area, the viscous force also decreases. So because of that we used to prefer, that means we will design the objects in streamlined shape. And you may observe in bike racing. Okay, so let me draw a bike. Consider this is a bike. Okay, so in this bike the person will not sit in straight. Okay, in racing time, if we sit like this means what happens, the area is increased the drag force also increases. Instead of splitting in a straight, what you used to do means you will lean forward. So you will lean forward like this, and then you will ride the bike. Again, he wants to minimize the area. By minimizing the area, drag force will decreases. If the drag force, the pulling force decreases means, then the bike can move with very high speed. And the viscous force depends upon the velocity also. If you move with more velocity, definitely the drag force will increases, isn't it? So like this, by using streamlined shaped bodies, we can reduce the viscous force. So here it is having some disadvantage. So when we have some advantage of this viscous force or a drag force means, let us consider due to some emergency in an aeroplane, the passenger has to jump from the plane outside. So what he will do, simply he will not suddenly will not jump outside from the plane. Instead of doing that, he can sit inside the plane also. Both result is same, right? So how he will jump means, if he had a parachute, suddenly he will open that parachute and finally he will land safely to the ground. So in the parachute case, what happens? In the parachute case, the area becomes more. The area becomes more, then the person is jumping from certain height means he is jumping in fluid medium, air medium. The drag force acting also more. Why? Because the drag force depends upon area. Then after some instant, he can, that means after some instant he will move with constant velocity to the ground. The impact on the person become less. In this example, the drag force having some advantages, and most of the time it is having a disadvantage. And I explained how to reduce the drag force. Stokes' law. Okay. So this law is strictly applied for. This law is strictly applied for spherical bodies. Let us imagine a spherical body. A spherical body. Its radius is r. Okay. It is moving in the liquid medium or fluid medium. Then what happens? It experiences a drag force or viscous force. That force will act in this direction. That viscous force tries to oppose the motion of this spherical body. In the upward direction, which force will act means the viscous force will act. Okay. According to this Stokes' law, experimentally it is found that this viscous force, I will denote it with Fv, it depends on radius. Okay. This viscous force depends on a radius. If radius of the spherical body is more, definitely the drag force also more. And the viscous force depends on the speed of the body. If the body is moving with high speed in the liquid medium, then the viscous force in the opposite direction also increases. These are the experimental observation. And this viscous force is directly proportional to coefficient of viscosity. If coefficient of viscosity value is more, the drag force also more. So for example, you can consider drop a spherical pebble or a marble into a water, it will reach the bottom surface earlier comparing to dropping a marble in honey, isn't it? So why? Because honey, a thick liquid, its viscosity is more, hence viscous force will also more. Water, its viscosity is less comparing to honey. Like that, on a spherical body, when it is moving inside a liquid, the viscous force depends on these factors: radius, velocity and coefficient of viscosity. So finally we can write that the viscous force on a spherical body directly proportional to eta r v. So to remove proportionality constant, experimentally it is found that value comes to be 6 pi. Okay, this is the proportionality constant, 6 pi eta r v. Okay, so where v is the velocity of a spherical body moving inside the liquid, r is the radius of the spherical body and eta is the coefficient of viscosity. Remember this formula. According to Stokes' law, the viscous force depends on these factors. And this is strictly for spherical bodies. Then let us imagine a spherical object is falling from certain height. It is falling from certain height. Okay, that means here there is a air medium, means air is also a fluid. If you drop a spherical object, that object is moving in a fluid medium, that is in air medium. And you know that again the radius is r. Then what happens? Definitely while moving downwards, initially its speed will increases, right? At any point, let us consider it is moving in a fluid medium, means definitely in this direction which force will act, means in upward direction the drag force will act. So speed is increasing, hence the magnitude of drag force also increases. And not only drag force will act on the body, and you have studied a force of buoyancy, buoyant force. If you dip an object, if you immerse an object in a liquid medium, the buoyant force, the upthrust will act in upward direction. Along with this viscous force, there will be an buoyant force. That buoyant force will also act in upward direction. This Fv is viscous force, and this Fb is buoyant force. And weight of the body, so weight of the body is acting downwards, that is mg. Okay, these forces are acting on this spherical object when you drop an object from certain height. Due to the fluid medium, the viscous force and also a buoyant force, both are acting in upward direction, and weight of the object is acting vertically downwards, that is mg. Then consider a situation. So if this weight of an object balances this viscous force and force of buoyancy, okay, then what happens? That means in downward direction also, for example, let us take 100 Newton force is acting. In upward direction also, let us take combined forces let us take 100 Newton is acting. That means both direction, that means the magnitude of forces are same but acting in opposite direction, they will get cancel each other. Then we can say the net force acting on the body is 0. Okay, if weight is equals to Fv plus Fb, why? Because these are acting upward direction, the weight is acting downward direction. In magnitude, if they become equal, then the net force acting on this spherical object become 0. Net force becomes 0 means what happens? Then after this spherical body will reaches the ground, or it will moves with constant velocity. Okay, then the velocity will not increase. So at this instant, what is the velocity of that object? With that velocity, it will continues to move in downward direction. Okay, so that velocity is called as terminal velocity. When the body will reaches terminal velocity, when it is falling in a fluid medium, at any instant, the weight of an object balances the viscous force and buoyant force. Then the net force on the object becomes 0. Then after, it will moves with constant velocity. That constant velocity is called as terminal velocity, or we can say final velocity. Okay, W equals Fv plus Fb. Then weight of the object, m into g we can write. Viscous force on a spherical object, what is the viscous force? Just now, according to Stokes' law, we came to know that viscous force is 6 pi eta r into v. Okay, I will consider this v is here terminal velocity. Why? Because the net force acting at this instant is 0. Then that velocity becomes the terminal velocity plus force of buoyancy. What is the expression for force of buoyancy? Rho v g. Remember, where rho is density of this fluid medium. Okay, and this mass, that mass I can able to write it as sigma density into volume into g. Okay, direct density into volume into g, where sigma is density of this object. Okay, rho is density of the fluid. This should be equal to 6 pi eta r v plus rho v g. And you can write 6 pi eta rv is equals to, if you bring this rho vg that side, then it becomes v sigma minus rho into g. Okay, this is terminal velocity. Then 6 pi eta r vt should be equals to volume of the sphere. Volume of the sphere or volume of the liquid displaced here, both are same, isn't it? Hence, volume of the sphere I will substitute 4 by 3 pi r cube sigma minus rho into g. Then here 3 times, here 2 times. Then the expression becomes, the expression for terminal velocity becomes Vt is equals to, this 3 will come here, then 2 by 9, this pi and pi will get cancelled. I will write this as also small r cube, then this r and this one will get cancelled. Finally, you will get 2 by 9. 2 by 9 in the denominator eta, here r square sigma minus rho into g. So this is the final expression for terminal velocity. Remember 2 r square sigma minus rho into g divided by 9 eta. Okay, and this is strictly valid for spherical bodies. And also we can able to calculate the terminal velocity for other objects also, but it is somewhat difficult comparing to spherical bodies. And the terminal velocity we can also reduce to near to zero also. That means I said one example, right? A person is falling from a certain height using parachute. Then what happens at some stage? At some stage the weight of the person is balanced by this force of buoyancy and viscous force, track force. Then from that height the person will reaches the ground with same velocity or constant velocity. So this is about Stokes' law and terminal velocity. And the next concept is Reynolds number. Okay, Reynolds is a scientist. He explained about the streamline flow and turbulent flow. We have already know what is meant by streamline flow and turbulent flow. Okay, and also you have know about critical velocity. That means if the liquid is moving with less velocity, that flow is a streamline or laminar flow, right? Suppose if velocity increases, then at particular velocity what happens means the streamline flow will converts, or it will becomes into a turbulent flow. And if that flow, if a liquid is moving in a pipe with more velocity, means that will exert more pressure on the surface of the pipe. That means if any turbulent flow exert more pressure on the pipes comparing to streamline flow. And he explained when we can able to consider the fluid flow is streamlined and the fluid flow is turbulent. For that he given an expression for critical velocity. This critical velocity is depends on this critical velocity is depends on this coefficient of viscosity and also the diameter of the pipe. The fluid is moving in a pipe means the diameter, the critical velocity depends upon the diameter and the density of the fluid. On these factors the critical velocity will depends. And here to remove the proportionality constant, this Vc is nothing but critical velocity. And here Vc is equals to we have to write some proportionality constant, right? That proportionality constant is r into eta divided by rho d. Then where r is called Reynolds, where r is called Reynolds number. Then the expression for Reynolds number becomes r is equals to critical velocity, density and this diameter divided by coefficient of viscosity. Remember this expression based on the experimental result given this formula, that is Reynolds number. That Reynolds number expression is critical velocity, density of the fluid This capital D is diameter of the pipe and eta is coefficient of viscosity, and it is a unitless and dimensionless quantity, like strain, relative density, that is also a unitless and dimensionless quantity, right? Here also substitute all the units here, then unit of viscosity, that will get cancelled, hence it is a unitless and dimensionless quantity. Then how we can able to say the flow is streamline and the flow is turbulent by seeing the value of Reynolds number? Means this Reynolds number, it's just a numerical value, and according to the Reynolds number, if the Reynolds number is less than, if Reynolds number is less than 1000, after substituting all the values we will get some value, right, final. If that value is less than 1000, then we can consider the flow is streamline flow. Okay, that flow is streamline flow. And if the value of R, if the value of R is greater than 2000, okay, less than 1000 means that is streamline flow. If it is greater than 2000 means that flow is turbulent flow. Okay, by seeing the value we can came to know that the flow is streamline or turbulent. Then in between 1000 and 2000 means, okay, if the value of Reynolds number comes in between 1000 and 2000 means we cannot predict the motion. Either it may be streamline or it may be turbulent, depending upon the surrounding disturbances. Suppose it may streamline also, due to surrounding disturbance it may convert into turbulent, or from turbulent it may convert into streamline. That is the case between 1000 and 2000. So for 2 marks they may ask in PU exam about Reynolds number, remember the expression, and this one.